Hey, fabulous listeners. Welcome back to Shut Up Chanel, your go to podcast for unfiltered conversations and fabulous friends. I'm Chanel Perrillo, your host, and today we're about to turn up the heat. I'm already getting a little hot with a special guest who needs no introduction. The incomparable Laith Ashley is here. Laith is an American model, actor, activist, singer, songwriter, and entertainer of Dominican descent. He isn't just a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment industry, he's a beacon of empowerment and authenticity. From gracing the covers of renowned magazines to captivating audiences with his magnetic presence on stage and screen, Laith's journey is as inspiring as it is extraordinary. But beyond the glitz and glamour, Laith is a dear friend of mine with a heart of gold and a smile that lights up any room. Today, we're diving deep into the world of fashion, friendship, and flirtatious banter with the one and only Laith Ashley. So get ready to swoon, laugh, and maybe even blush a little. I know I will, as we unravel the charm of Laith Ashley. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and join me, Chanel Perrillo, as I take you on my LGBTQIA plus journey alongside the irresistible Laith Ashley.
Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Chanel, shut up! Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel! Shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel! Shut up, shut up, shut up, Chanel!
Oh my God. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen Laith in so long. So wait, let's welcome to the
Yes.
stage, Laith Ashley. I already did your
Hey.
introduction before you hopped on.
Okay.
How are you? Welcome to
Yeah,
Shut Up Chanel.
I'm doing good. I mean, as everyone knows, about me and Miss Wanzer, we're neighbors. So she right before hopping on, that's why it took so long as well. She dropped off her dog. So if you hear running around, her dog and my dog are playing. I'm doing well. I'm just you know, trying to do what I can. This whole Hollywood game can get to you, but you have to keep it moving, keep it going.
What do you mean by that? Tell me.
Um,
Vent to me.
I'll,
Vent
be-
to
I'll I'll
me.
vent a little bit. Look, so I mean, I've been at this now for I say almost 10 years, if not 10 years already. And they say, oh, you put your 10 years in and eventually something will happen. And hey, maybe it will happen this year, maybe next year. But sometimes as I'm getting older, I've had been getting a little bit more frustrated with this industry. There's this feeling like you're being shut out or you're not enough. And when I first came into this industry, I was just like, I'm gonna work so hard, I'm gonna have this perfect body 24/7, and I'm tired. I just want to eat and I don't want to go to the gym all the time. I'm just like, y'all, I've looked like this for all this time. Calvin Klein, what's up? Y'all can't put me on an ad one time. You got all these other guys. I'm like, I would look way better than them. And now that I feel like I'm falling off, and it's just like, when is it gonna happen? Will it happen? What does that mean for me and my career? Not just Calvin Klein. I was just using that as an example, but it's just
Hmm.
it feels like you're not seen. And we're in this era, especially with social media, with where everyone just wants affirmation and wants to be seen, which is great. And I think that there is enough space for everybody, but it's almost like it feels like purposely being shut out or silenced sometimes.
Okay, well, one, as your friend, like I wouldn't even like I feel like you have been killing it. Like there's so many things that you have accomplished and done that like it's so hard to listen to a friend like not think that they've made it. Like
Yeah.
late, you were the love interest in a Taylor Swift music video.
Yeah. I guess in my mind, I was hoping that would bring about
Bring
more hype.
more.
Um, because I mean, obviously, I know that this is the artist struggle. You're
Mhm.
out
That's what
here,
I
you're
was
trying to
gonna
do the
say.
most. Yes,
I was like, you're
but
not an artist unless you are constantly like not feeling like you've done
you're
enough.
yeah. Well, I guess it's like wanting that financial security,
That's
where
what
you're
it
not
is.
where you're not like, oh, when is the next job coming? Like, shit, I got all these bills to pay.
Hmm.
Like, what am I gonna do? So
No,
there's that, you know?
yeah. I think from the outside looking in, like people look at your Instagram, probably even mine sometimes, and
Yeah.
think that we're living a higher life than we are. And like me and you are both in our apartments right now, like probably struggling to pay our bills this week. And that's like goes to show like people in middle America don't realize like you could be in a Taylor Swift music video and like still be struggling to pay your bills. Like the two don't go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I think like even a lot of people, like I count my blessings during the pandemic. A lot of people were struggling like between 2020, 2022. I was working so much and I was shocked. I think that what ended up happening too is just after that whole Dylan Mulvaney thing ended up happening with, I think it was with Bud Light.
It was with Bud Light.
Yeah, and then on top of that, all the anti-LGBT, anti-trans legislation, a lot of brands didn't want to touch trans people. So I feel like there's been also actively other brands have been staying away from trans creators and trans artists. So it feels like there's not as much work that's available.
Which is so, and that's the thing. And that's why it's so like closed-minded of me to like just assume that like you're getting all these jobs because like I know you and I like, I think like in my head, I'm like, Laith is so beautiful. Like, how is he not work? You're welcome. How is he not getting all the gigs? Did this start during the Trump era? Did you think the pushback on trans work?
Absolutely. I think it didn't. I think it reached ahead. I can get into this. I've been studying it, especially with what's going on in the Middle East right now. I don't want to talk to. I don't want your podcast to get demonetized or whatever. But I started doing a ton of research. I have like stacks of books, articles that I've been reading, and I was just like, there are things that I knew because I was in AP Euro in high school, but then I kind of deviated over to the arts and well first math, and then I was just like, okay, I'm done with math, and then went into the arts. So there's some things that I needed a refresher on, and I was just like, whoa, this all makes perfect sense. As right, I think I started my transition in 2014. In 2015, I feel like there was this huge, I wouldn't say push, but there was this opening where people were just like, we want to hear these stories. We want to talk to these folks. And that's around the time that like Strut came out, and Laverne Cox was on her Orange is the New Black, and a lot of things were happening for other trans folks in media. And then all of a sudden Trump was elected, and it was just like, they're trying to groom our kids. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I think, and then the whole bathroom situation, and it's what I call what is called like wedge issues that have really divided the US, I think the world, but particularly talking about the US, with there's certain issues that if you're on one side you're a Republican and on the other side you're a Democrat, and I'm just like, look, for the most part everyone wants the same thing. And I think that the language that's used by the politicians to trick you into voting for them, it's what's actually happening here. And then it's making people emotional and riled up, like, oh, we have to protect this or that, and we're not listening to each other. And then we're going against each other. And this is being done on purpose to keep us
divided,
pretty much low level, divided, and dumb.
No, completely. And it's all done using gay drag queens and trans people as like the scapegoats, like the faces of this divide. And so it's easier to like, oh, it's so frustrating.
It's frustrating. So along with the Taylor Swift thing, like you said, after that, my team was just like, you're gonna get so much work. Let's see what ends up happening. I barely got any like interviews. People didn't really care. I think me being trans in the video kind of went over a lot of people's heads, unless they knew who I was, or unless like,
completely. Like hashtag like love interest. But like people didn't even know. Like there wasn't enough press around it. Like I'll never forget, I know the day I think I reached out to you for something that I wanted you for, and you were like, don't tell anyone, but I'm going to shoot the Taylor Swift music video. And then I died. I was like, this is like you're about to be a household name. I was like, this is going to be crazy. And I also thought that like the media would make it a headline, like trans model activist is love interest, but there was none of that. I didn't see like, and it was maybe picked up by like a couple gay publications, but nothing mainstream was picking, which is wild.
And I was surprised, and she didn't say much either.
And she didn't, because she could have said something.
but I think that was probably to
Her
protect
team.
herself.
It was
Yeah,
her team. It
yeah,
wasn't her
for sure.
decision.
So then there's like I just kept thinking about the model that played her love interest in 2014, Sean O'Pry. I've mentioned him a few times on the other interviews that I did as well, where
Mhm.
you know, white cis guy, really attractive man. I mean, obviously she picks hot guys to be her love interest.
Yeah.
No, but he like working nonstop, and he's ever since he did that, he was working already, but not it wasn't to the level that he was at after. So
Hmm.
and since then, if you look up like top male models, he's number one. He's like, I think he has surpassed David Gandy, who was number one for a very long time as far as getting a lot of campaigns and working. So it's like it's Sean O'Pry, David Gandy, and Tyson Beckford. And I'm like, I'm over here like, a crumb, sir, please, someone hire me. But I mean, at this point, I'm just like, well, I'm gonna have to create my own lane. And I've been trying to figure out what to do there. Is I remember when I first came out here and I was hustling, I was like, I'm gonna do everything. I was doing music, I was doing all of the things,
Hmm.
and it was draining because I felt like, okay,
We
no
burnt
one,
ourselves out. Honestly, I
yeah,
think
I
about that
was
all
like,
the time. When
I'm
I moved
fucking
here at
tired.
20, I did everything and
Everything.
like for free. Like I'd be like, oh, like just to like
Yeah.
put my name out there.
Hmm.
I was going to dinners just to get my name out
Hmm.
there. I would like, networking. That was the
Yeah.
thing before Instagram. Like
Yeah.
before you could like, like before there was Instagram, like you'd have to go out and
Yeah.
network. And it was a different world. And I think we may have burnt our I think that Hollywood does that. I think like the
Hmm.
Hollywood burnout is real. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to like refocus your energy on yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like the plan for you in life is still unfolding. Like that's how you also have to look at it.
Yeah.
Cause I have to talk to myself like that too. I feel like we're both overthinkers. We're both sensitive
Hmm.
creatures, I
Yeah.
think.
I,
I
I feel
always felt that. I
I feel
always
you.
felt like
I'm
like
a
what's
Cancer. I'm the most sensitive. Yeah.
there we go. Okay, yeah, I'm a Cancer rising. So like
Okay, that
I'm
makes
this
sense.
outgoing Leo. I'm like
Yeah.
everyone sees me as a Leo, but really I'm this like very emotional, highly sensitive. And I
Sensitive.
just started owning that. Like I used to
Hmm.
try to hide my sensitivity. Like I would like I don't know, like I think like people don't like to see people cry and people used to like
Yeah.
always never want to see me cry, but now I'm kind of like owning that I just know it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And my therapist has helped me realize that is like, Chanel, like you're always going to be sensitive. So you might
And
as well
that's
just own
okay.
it.
And
Mm,
it's okay. It's a very beautiful thing. I think same here. I thought that me being sensitive or taking things to heart too much was a weakness at one point. I mean, I think there's definitely a balance. You can't
mm.
just go around crying and being
No,
emotional everywhere.
no, there's I mean, I
But
think at one point I was a
uh,
little emotionally
yeah,
unstable, but
that part, absolutely.
I have definitely been emotionally unstable in my journey thus far.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's because I constantly tried to hide
Hmm.
my emotions. And so they would come out in times that were inappropriate. Like, if you like push it down, then, you go out, you have a couple drinks, that's why you're the girl crying in the club. It's
Yeah.
not like,
Yeah, it's definitely it's also like for me learning to set boundaries because I've always
mm-hmm,
been like a big people pleaser,
mm-hmm,
and I just wanted to be liked, and especially after my transition and then going into media, and even the way that happened, it was just like being bombarded on Instagram with like negative commentary, and I was going in there and trying to individually talk to all these people, really kind of like, why don't you like why do you feel this way? Like I tried to basically over explain what my experience was to no avail because they didn't
mm-hmm.
give a fuck. They were just like, fuck you, tranny. Like I was like, okay, all right, well, that's done there. I'm gonna have to start blocking folks. But it took me a while to not do that. Even I still do it now, but I'm learning to say no and kind of stand my ground and to advocate for myself, to stand up for myself, and all that has taken time for me.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
all like that's a part of self like I never even realized that like boundaries were a form of self-love. Like
Hmm.
saying no is empowering and like
Yeah.
knowing it's also like I've been working on aligning my values like and living through that. Like if this doesn't align with my values, then I say no.
Hmm.
And that's okay. And like it's okay to upset people. It's okay, because at the end of the day, like I'm happier.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's if in order for you to do your best work, you have to be in a good place as well. And you want to do, I think when there's something that you really want to do and it does align, it
Hmm.
flows better. You perform better. All the things just fall into place versus you forcing something that you really don't want to do. Maybe
Hmm.
someone gets under your skin and now you're like, I don't fucking want to do this shit. And I'm gonna lash out. And now you look, I mean, I'm speaking from, I'm like, I look like a crazy person because I kept sweeping things under the rug. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, explosion. And now I'm like, Laith has a
Hmm.
temper problem. I'm like,
But it's not. It's that you were stopped listening to that inner voice. And
yeah.
now I'm really trying to listen to the inner voice because, yeah, that's the thing. You build up resentment,
Hmm.
and then you unleash it all because they did one little thing. And really, you're not mad about that little thing. You're mad
Yeah.
about the thing a month ago that you
Right.
swept under the rug.
Yes.
Fucking growth. Are you in therapy? I feel like you are.
I haven't, I feel like I need to go back. What's been happening is though, I've become a recluse, so I'm in my apartment all the time. So now I'm not being triggered. So I don't know what's gonna happen when I have to start being outside again. And I'm just like, don't be triggered, relax, go breathe in the corner somewhere before I come back.
People don't talk about that enough. I always
Mhm.
felt like I always felt like I was similar to you. And it's so weird because I was out every night of my life, I think since I from like 16, I would say to like
Mhm.
30, early 30s. Like
Yeah.
I was probably out or social or doing something like not in the house.
Mm.
And then COVID really, it brought out the introvert in me. And I realized that like I really had just been like numbing a lot of stuff by going out and getting external validation. I realized that like a lot of my time in West Hollywood and going out was all for external validation. And when you have to like sit at home and like self validate,
Yeah.
I got depressed, but then now I'm in this place where like I love being home. Like
Yeah.
I just now I signed up for the gym 4 weeks ago and I've gone every like I've only missed
Okay.
1 day a week. I'm like super about it, but now that's like my social time. And so like now like I feel like I at least like got out of the house, did something, was around other people
Hmm.
that wasn't drinking or just like going out, and it's like a healthy, and now I feel like less of a recluse. So,
Yeah. That's kind of my thing. My going out is the gym as well.
mhm,
That's where I go out. But here's my people pleasing problem. Sometimes I'll see people that I would see around before when I was going out and going to West Hollywood and things like that.
mhm.
And they're just like, I don't see you anymore. Like let's hang out. And I'm like in the moment because I'm outside. I'm like, yeah, let's totally do it. And then when they follow up, I'm just like, mm, we can see each
Yeah.
other at the gym.
It's because they got you when your
Yeah.
endorphins are
I
up.
know. I'm just like, I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out. Like, we're gonna do this and that. We can grab a coffee. And I'm just like, you know what? It's probably not gonna happen. We can FaceTime though.
I know. Sometimes it's like that fear of our triggers.
Yeah.
But something I've learned, and maybe this will help you, is like it's so like you could go out for 20 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I have this because we're people pleasers. We feel
Yeah.
like once we're out, we're out. We have to
Hmm.
be with everyone. If they say
Hmm.
no, don't go home, we go, okay, we'll stay.
Yeah.
Not listening to our inner voices. But like if you could go out and just give yourself a timer, like I'm gonna go out for 30 minutes tonight and I'm gonna make sure I go home right after. And then like
Here's the
it
thing though.
what?
I usually sometimes when I go out, when I finally get myself out, I have a really good time. So now I'm like, I don't
We've
want to leave
talked
yet. Yeah.
about this.
And I'm
See?
like, and then I'll be the last one. I'll be like this. I would do this when I lived in New York. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go out. I'll dance for a little bit and then I'll go home and I'll be like the last one leaving the club at 1 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning.
See,
Like drenched in
we're
sweat.
all or nothing. We're all or nothing people.
Yeah. So it's just
I
like
love
once you
it.
get me outside, I'm outside. But getting me there, that's the difficult part.
I
I'm
know.
gonna get this right. There we
I
go.
know that about you because I feel like I've seen you out before and you're like, now I'm definitely not going home now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that we got so sidetracked. It's so
Hmm.
good. Like we got this flow in. I want to tell the listeners how you and I met. Like, what is your first
Okay.
memory of meeting me? How did we, and I don't know if I couldn't remember.
I think it was the Marco show in 2017.
Look at
That's
you.
when we met. And I was just like, okay, who's the hot Italian girl over there with Marco? And you were like running shit behind the scenes because I remember I don't remember where it was that we were walking exactly. Actually, yes, I do. It was the one with all the dividers. So there were like maybe four models on the stage, and there was a short runway, and we started out outside in like an alleyway, and you were like putting everyone in the line and making sure that everyone was where they're supposed to be. You were like badass.
That is,
That
I
was it.
mean, I love that. I
Yeah.
I like produce it, like producing backstage at a
Yeah.
fashion show, like
Yeah.
is like heroin to me. Like
Yeah.
I get so off on it. I like that power and
Yeah.
control.
That
And
Leo energy.
it's that Leo. Get like people have to listen to me. No,
Yeah.
but like it's just so exhilarating.
Mhm.
And it's that high. Like I think because I am like very like I am a like I hate when people are like I'm an empath, but I do really feed off like people's like emotions around me. And so like
Mhm.
that like being around all that nervousness and then like how exciting you guys feel when you get off
Yeah.
that runway. Like it's just exhilarating. And I used to get that same joy when I worked on Drag Race. Like
Mhm.
my favorite part of every episode of working on Drag Race was when I would line up the girls
Yeah.
for the main stage and they would come, and that was my first taste of a fashion show. Like I had never worked on a fashion show, but Drag Race was kind of like they prepared me for Marco show. That's how I felt. Like I was like Marco was like that's why I was trained to do, to work on Drag Race. But I remember that first time like a queen came off the stage and how like accomplished they felt off of
Mhm.
like 10 seconds of walking down the runway. I was like I want to be around this kind of
Yeah.
energy.
I had no idea you produced on Drag Race. I had like or you were what was your title? Was that it? Is it
Well,
producer
I
that could
started I
started?
started out as a PA
PA.
and then I
Okay.
became like a talent producer. So I was
Ah.
like, yeah.
Wow.
I
So you've been doing all the things. I'm like, okay, you were like, I'm in LA and I'm gonna do everything.
everything.
That's amazing.
I moved to LA. I had such a like such an LA girl story. Like I came for FITM. I
Mhm.
came for fashion school during the recession where there was no fashion jobs. And so I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I was like, started going out to the clubs and I met these guys out that like produced red carpet events and stuff. And they hired me as their assistant. So I was like this 20-year-old, like getting to like work the door at like all these like fierce red carpet events and like press events, like back before Instagram, where like back it before Instagram, like LA used to be popping like all day
Yeah.
and all night. Like there would be red carpet events like all day long because people needed to like go get their picture taken and
hmm
stuff. And I
I
feel like that declined with Instagram.
I'm not gonna lie, like I love social media. I love what it has done, but
Mhm.
I think that we need to go a little bit back to the way it was because
I miss it.
it's not it's I wouldn't I hate using the word like oversaturated because I do like the idea that it gives people that otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to enter entertainment if they want to the opportunity to do so.
Mm.
But it's kind of it feels like it's cheapened it because everyone has content. Like you just now you have your phone, you have your lighting, you have your mic, you have all the equipment, you can produce something yourself, which is great. But also sometimes the quality isn't so great, or like you're producing really short form stuff. So as someone that's consuming that, you're just like TikTok, you're just scrolling for hours watching everybody's stuff. So then no one has the attention span to watch like a feature film or something longer anymore. It has to be these short snippets of things. Even music has gotten shorter. The songs used to
It's
be
so
4.5 minutes,
cute.
and it's just
Mhm.
like 2 minutes long or like a minute long snippet that or 30 seconds even that goes on TikTok on someone's video.
Oh, I think it's completely oversaturated.
Yeah.
And it's like
You said it. Like,
I
no,
mean,
yeah.
all of it is. I mean,
I
even
mean, yeah.
dating, we're all
All of it, yeah.
desensitized. We're
Yeah.
desensitized. Like, there's really no like order, like pecking order of like who's considered famous and who isn't anymore. Like, it
Mm-mm.
used to be like a casting director would find you and like they
Yeah.
would determine you're a star. And
Yeah.
then, and now it's like anyone with a good camera,
hmm
could become famous
Yeah. I
and
mean, if
and they're done after like
yeah,
a couple years, because
yeah.
it's like, and then I also worry about these kids that have like all this fame and like success so young. Like where are they going to be in their 60s? Like if you're peaking at 16, like
Yeah.
what else is there to live for? Like I feel like there's going to be like a huge depression amongst like gen zers for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's the thing too. I think, well, it becomes everything is everyone's hopping on a trend. So there's something that's
Mhm.
trending, people hop on the trend, they kill it until the next trend.
Mm-hmm.
and everything seems it's very much the same. It looks very uniform, and the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of it is to keep people like on their phones to purchase things because that's ultimately it's corporations. It's to
It
spend
makes
money.
me sick.
Yeah.
Whenever
And
I go to buy
yeah.
something off of an influencer, I always catch myself like, bitch, this girl just almost got you to buy
Yeah,
her
you don't
fit.
need this shit.
I don't need it. You were fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm like guilty of it sometimes. Like I'll be like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
love that girl's style. Like, let me look at her Amazon storefront. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, literally, this is what the job that she's doing. Like,
Yeah.
and like she got me.
But it also makes it so that everyone is doing the same, so everyone is easily replaceable. And then it
Mm.
like I know for models that have been working for a long time, they're no longer they probably don't get paid as much as they would for a big advertising campaign because these brands are paying influencers a tiny amount for and it's unfair on all ends because if you think about the person who's the influencer or the content creator, they have they're doing their own makeup. They're
They're
doing their
doing
own hair.
all the work.
Right.
They're
They're
getting
filming
everything.
themselves, but they're not getting paid what they would pay an
No.
entire team to do all those things. So it's also fucked up. So the
I've
people that
noticed that. Like
so
with
it's like
influencers, I'm like, there used to be a day where like they would like, I can't believe you're doing your own makeup and hair.
makeup, hair, lighting, editing, filming. It's everything. So like for me, I'm a digital. I'm managed by a digital manager, and I
Mm.
told him I'm like, I feel like I'm aging out of this. I want to show up and do my job. I don't want to have to constantly set up lights, take lights down, put up a camera. Oh, this is and then film, then edit, then put out like
Yeah.
I just want to
Like you're
show
not
up
in
and be
production.
yeah, I'm not right. I'm just like, am I a producer? Am I going to be paid as that? No, I'm not. I'm being paid as talent. So I want to be talent. Let me be talent. So I'm just like I'm
It's a
so
hard
tired.
time. I
And
know.
then also go to the gym and stay on top of my fitness and my skincare. I'm like, I'm in my 30s now. I got to look like my 20s and have my body right. And people don't want to see me. And you're trans, but you're not trans enough. And you're also brown and you look like a Middle Eastern person. We don't like you. It's a hot mess. It's a lot of things.
Well, I love you, and I know a lot of people love you. And
I love you too.
I know so many
Yeah.
people have crushes on you.
I was telling you about my neighbor.
I was last night. I was like, he would really wanted to out his
uh,
neighbor on the podcast
uh,
today. Laith has a neighbor that's
she
in
won't
love with
watch.
him. She's not listening. Wait, I do want to take it back a little. So wait, okay,
Okay.
Marco Show 2000. I thought it
2017.
2017. That's where we met. I remember the first time you came. I was like, oh my god, Laith is so hot. Like I think I had DM'd you. I probably found you on Instagram,
Yeah.
DM'd you. Everyone had been talking like you should book Laith Ashley. Did you live in LA yet?
No, I was still in New York.
You were
Yeah.
still in New
Yeah.
York. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So you
Yeah.
came to, and
Yeah.
that show was in New York or LA?
It was in LA.
It was in LA. Oh my
I think
God.
I think I was put up in Mama Shelter. You put me up in Mama Shelter for that
Oh my
event.
God. We give you a
Yeah.
hotel
You
room.
gave
Look
me a
at
hotel.
us. Me
And
at
I was just
Marco
like, ooh, this is
Marco.
cute. And this is like, the beginnings of things. So I was just like a little feeling myself. I'm like, look at me getting flued out. I'm getting flown out, getting put up. This is fire. And the show was so much fun. Like, I think that was one of my favorite shows. The makeup, the energy. It was really, really cool. I really, really enjoyed myself.
Do you have
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
memories from a Marco show that like stick with you?
I mean, every one I've walked has been amazing. But the first one is always just like, wow. I remember I was a little insecure. So that show, I think a lot of the muscle guys were there. Like, Billy Relick were backstage, and he was like hammering down pizzas, but still looking fucking jacked and ripped. And I was just like, I can't eat a damn thing because I need to be. And like I'm trying to do pull-ups and push-ups and things. So I remember that backstage. And
Yeah,
like
I
just
don't think a lot of like girlies know that. Like
yeah.
backstage at a fashion show, like because and that's something I hate about guys is like
Yeah.
you could do fucking push-ups right before you go out,
Yeah.
swole. Like there's no girl like doing sit-ups right before
Yeah.
a date. Like no,
No.
no girl is doing sit-ups before a date or
Yeah.
pull-ups. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine like me
Like
prepping
getting
for a
ready.
date?
Yeah. Yeah,
That would
everyone
be
I remember that. But I think I wanted to be so like just ripped. So I didn't want to
Mhm.
eat a damn thing. But then I realized I'm like, I haven't eaten or drank any water. Like I had dehydrated myself for this. I didn't drink any liquids for that I think 24-hour period. So I was really thirsty, and then I think pizzas were like people bought someone bought bought pizzas, and
Mm-hmm.
there were like 10 boxes of pizzas, and I was just like, I'm not touching it. And then I was like, you know what? Muscles are looking flat. I need to drink something and eat a fucking slice of pizza. So I went and got a pizza, and then I did some pull-ups, some crunches, and then everything looked great.
Oh my God. I didn't even know like you're not supposed to like that don't drink water to look more
Yes.
fit.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
So yeah. I mean, if you think of like with bodybuilding competitions, they take pills that essentially drain them of all
Dehydrate
their
you.
water, dehydrate them so that they can look as dry as possible on stage. Like the skin is like sticking to the muscle.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never
It
knew
could be
that.
very dangerous to do, which is like why it's right after they have like so much water and like with electrolytes in it, and they're just
Mhm.
pounding that down afterwards. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then after that, we started shooting with you a lot, but like, did you walk and then start like modeling, like editorial for us, or how did
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it was walking first and then modeled afterwards.
Okay. Cause
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you had like modeled before for us.
Because
God.
I remember seeing the show the previous year, and I think that was the show with that it went viral with Dexter Mayfield's walk. Aiden Dowling was on that one. He was like one of the
Hmm.
first trans guys, and I was just like, I want to be in this show.
Yeah.
And then I was on it.
Oh my God. And that was like, so like, yeah, because I had worked on Drag Race. After Drag Race, started like going out in WeHo and really like found my tribe with Rhea and Marco and everyone. And then I left Drag Race, started doing the Marco fashion show. And I had just started meeting trans women. And so like
Mhm.
that's why like it's so crazy. Like as the show evolved, like I evolved kind of too. And like just like like you were probably one of like the first trans men I had ever met.
Wow, really? So
Uh,
be quiet.
Besides
No.
Aiden, there was
Yeah.
Aiden and then Laith Ashley. I know.
I mean, there's as far as visibility goes. I mean, at that time, there weren't any.
None. Like I
Even still, there's not really many.
was like, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, like people started using, drag queens and shows after our fashion show. And I was like, let's just like, I mean, I was like, Marco incorporates all of the LGBT community.
Mhm.
Like, we're not stopping at drag
Yeah,
queens. You
right.
know what I mean?
I mean,
And-
it's a really big community, and everyone shows up in their own individual way. Like no one,
Mm,
everyone's just themselves, and I think that's what people need to see because even the same way that everyone is unique outside of the LGBT community, everyone within the LGBT community presents themselves in the way that they want to present themselves. So
mhm.
it's not we're not a monolith.
Exactly. I want to hear a little bit about your backstory because I personally know some of your backstory,
Okay.
but the listeners don't. And so I want you to like take me back. Like, who was Laith in high school?
Oh man. Well, I used to call myself a jock nerd. So I was kind of a masculine
Hmm.
girl, trying to be feminine in high school. Like I remember, so right before high school, eighth grade. I mean, always a big tomboy. So in eighth grade,
Hmm.
one of my classmates called me a dyke, and I remember it really hurt my feelings because I didn't have all the definitions down. I knew what it was, but I also was raised Christian, so my I knew that meant that was a bad thing. Even though I knew that as someone that was assigned female at birth, and I preferred my preference was women, girls. I I just thought that I would hide it from the world and keep it and from myself. Like it was just like, okay, that's not allowed. That's not a good thing. I'm just gonna be celibate and that's just the way it is.
Hmm.
Um, so it was like it really hurt, and
Is that like a conversation that you had to like have with yourself, like in your head? Like you were like,
uh
I'm just gonna the whole dating part, like you were attracted to women,
yeah.
but you like suppressed that, like you didn't flirt with women. You were like, I'm gonna just be celibate and give no
Hmm.
one attention.
Yeah, like even
Did
like I
like
remember
even
like
guys, because I know like growing up, like guy, like you didn't weren't
I've
bothered
never,
by
no,
men?
no.
No,
I never did.
not you
No, no.
wanting, but I mean like men
Yeah, I
like
mean,
approaching you.
sometimes they would. So I had like a girl crush every single grade from kindergarten through. You see my dog just
Is that
bouncing
your
over here.
doggy? Hi,
Yeah.
doggy.
See,
Oh.
they don't like when I don't give them attention, so they're losing their minds right now. Um, but I knew that wasn't the thing. And I remember fifth grade specifically, there was a girl that I had a huge crush on, and then I had to tell myself, I'm like, well, that's not how it's supposed to be. So, who's the boy that I would talk to? Like this is like 10-year-old me trying to make sense of
That's
dating and the world.
so
And I
crazy.
remember there was a boy named Moses, and we used to play at recess together. It was me and like all the boys. And I was just like, I guess we used to win. So I was just like, I guess him because he's the coolest and he wins the game. But it wasn't like, ooh, he's so cute. It was never
Yeah, it was
anything like
like,
that. It was
oh,
like,
he's
well,
the
if I
most.
have to, I mean, like, I guess it's him. This sucks. And I always felt like I should have been, I would pray to be a boy. Like I would pray. When again, this is my like child understanding of the world and
Yeah.
of spirituality. I was told like if you pray to God, God would give you what you need, and I would pray, I'm like, God, please, when I wake up tomorrow, I want to be a boy. It happened eventually.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it did.
But in high school, I there were moments where I was really trying to be feminine, and to me it was like me in drag. So I remember after that incident when I was called like a dyke, and we wore a uniform in high school. So I remember my skirt used to go up to my knees, and it was like very conservative. And then after that, I went to one of my friends who's also queer now, by the way. And I was
Fuck
like,
yeah.
hey, she used to hem the girls' skirts. I was like, take the skirt, make it as short as is allowed. So I was walking around with this little thing, but I was still walking like, yeah. And it was just like, girl, what you doing?
Yeah.
But I just figured people would think like, hey, like, oh, she's an athlete. She's just a ball player. That's just how ball players walk. Um,
Hmm.
so there was that. So I really focused on playing basketball, playing softball, and keeping my grades up. Like I took AP, like I said earlier, AP European history, AP calculus, AP physics. So I was a pretty good student and a great athlete. I was actually named best athlete for both male or female in high school, and I remember the boys baseball team actually wanted me to play baseball instead of softball, and I I felt that I wouldn't be good enough. And I decided to stay on the softball team, and that's one thing I do regret. I should have played baseball.
Oh my God. I
Yeah.
mean, you should just do that for fun now.
Yeah, I wanted to
For
join
like your
the
younger
softball.
self.
Yeah, like a little softball team or something. And I know that I was playing basketball in WeHo for a little bit, and
Hmm.
I hurt my knee because getting old. It's just old injuries. I mean, right now I'm like focusing on a lot of mobility work to try to strengthen my tendons and like really take
Yeah.
care of myself because I wanted to be the best at everything, and I would like really, really fuck myself up. Just like it's like go harder, go faster, go stronger.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you're not sore, like you're not doing enough. And it was just I really beat up on my body, trying to be the best.
I think you're really hard on yourself.
Yeah.
I've told you this for like 10 years.
I know.
You're the hardest person on
But
yourself.
aren't we all? We like our
But
worst
it's
critics,
honestly like, I mean, but think about the world you had to live in as a kid where
Yeah.
you were like constantly like that's it, part of it
Yeah.
probably has to do with that, you know. It's
Mhm.
like,
There was
so
some
when did you come out as trans? What was that
yeah.
moment like for you?
So I came out as gay first. I didn't like using the word lesbian because it just didn't feel right. So I just used gay to as as
You knew. You
like
fucking
I know,
knew.
but I didn't know the language of that yet. But
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't like lesbian because I liked gay because it was more so like it was a term that maybe encompassed all of it for me in my head. So I'm like, I
Hmm.
guess I'm gay. And I came out at 16. So I was dating, I met someone online. There was this website that was similar to MySpace at the time called Downlink. And I met a girl in Brooklyn, and like we met up and we started dating. We dated over the summer, and that was like my first experience with a girl. which was, and it was great. I was just like, wow, okay, this is what it is. It's cool. We would hold hands and go to the village at the pier, and it was
Oh,
that, yeah,
were
had
you
had
in love?
pizza. Um, from what I thought love was, I think I would say so. I was like 17.
Mm,
And it was just like, okay, this is who I am, but there were a lot of moments where of guilt because of my upbringing. So I was fighting myself constantly. My mom, when my mom found out, because my aunt outed me. I was staying with my aunt for some time, and she was just like, "Hey, you're like 17, and like when I was your age, I was dating boys. You're a cute girl. Like, where you haven't brought a boy home? Like, what's going on?" And I was just like, "Oh, I'm not interested in that. I'm just focused on my schoolwork." And she was just like, "Mm-hmm." And I think she went through my phone, if the old flip phones, maybe found a text message, and also, or like was watching me when I was like messaging on AIM.
hmm. Oh,
AOL instant
I was an aim girl.
and like found out about her. And then one day she goes, so who's this girl that you're going to see in Brooklyn? And I was like, how the fuck do you know I'm going to Brooklyn? She told my mom beat my ass.
Your
I think
mom
she
beat your ass?
my she like, I think she blacked out for a moment, and she hit me. She was like, she apologized afterwards. She said, "I'm so sorry. Like, I really didn't know what to do, or how to take that." And she was like, remember she like grabbed at my shirt, and I had to restrain her, and I ran out the door, and I called my aunt. And my aunt was like, she worked at Gay Men's Health Clinic in New York. So
Fuck yeah.
she was like, she was down. She was like, "All right,
Yeah.
don't worry about it." So she spoke to my mom, she spoke to my dad, and was just like, "Hey, this is who like Ash is. Like, you need to have a conversation, and like, what are you gonna do? This is your child." And I
Yeah.
really like, she was kind of a bridge for me,
Mm,
and having that conversation with my family. It was still hard. My mom at one point made me read this book called Divine Revelations of Hell, and that's when I backtracked. And like, even though at this point, after I dated this girl over the summer, I had cut my
mhm.
hair like this. I buzzed it off. I had long hair down my back my entire life. And
Was that liberating?
yeah, it's funny. I did it in stages. This is a funny story too. I cut my ponytail off, and then in order to hide that, I would like try to wrap it with a bunch of scrunchies to make it look like I had a bun. And one day my aunt, the one that outed me, goes, she looks and it's like, what is this here? Well, where's your hair? And she like yanked out all the scrunchies and was like, all your hair is gone. Like, and I was just like, yeah. And then at that point, I was like, well, now I can go to the barber shop and take the rest of it off.
Fuck yeah. That's what you did. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like ripping the band-aid.
Yeah. So, and I used to scare the girls in college, because I went to Fairfield University in Connecticut. So I remember going there and like in the showers with my shaved head. Sometimes the girls would jump. I'm like, relax. I'm supposed to be in here, I guess.
You've been dealing with bathroom shit from the
Favorite, oh,
beginning.
always that. Oh, I used to, when I started lifting weights, a group of girls with women lined up in front of my stall at Planet Fitness in Harlem, and they were just like, "Get out of here! You're a man. What are you doing in here?" And this was before I started testosterone, before I had even come out as trans. They were just like, "Get out!" And I was like, at that point, I started using the men's locker room just to avoid people bothering me.
Hmm.
So I was already using the men's locker room or bathroom before I started T.
As you should.
Yeah. And then, okay, so fast forwarding to
Hmm.
me actually transitioning, I learned, I wouldn't say discovered, I learned what trans was when I was 19. I was online. I don't know how I came across this video. I was on YouTube, came across a guy documenting his transition. His name was, online, I remember exactly what it was. It was ANF Jace.
I love that
Jace.
you remember.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, he's documenting his changes on testosterone, him going through the legal process of changing his name, gender marker, getting like top surgery, all these things. And I was like, this is me. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like, this, because it seemed like so difficult. It seemed like something I would never be able to do. And in my head, because of my upbringing, I'm like, oh my God, this is a confirmation of like me not going to, I'm going to hell, because I'm just like, not, there's no going back.
You were like, this is a
You know,
double
yeah,
swipe for my
right. So I was
parents.
just like, I
Like,
don't know what to do. So I tried to be like straight. It's like barely that, if you want to call it that. Like, there was this guy on the men's basketball team in college, and he was like, he would be flirty, and I would just be like, let me see what this is about. And I remember I went back to his room, and I kissed him or we kissed each other. We kind of made out, and then he was like wanting to take it a little further, and I went like, "That's nice. Let's go get a haircut." And we ended up just going to the barber shop and getting a haircut together. I don't know if he'd remember that at this point. I'm just like, nah, bruh, this isn't
He's gonna
happening.
be like, one time I was trying to fuck this girl
Yeah.
and she asked me to go get a haircut after.
Right.
Okay. At
So
least
that,
that's what I was wondering.
yeah.
Like that was your like, I'm gonna
Yeah, well,
give
there
it
were
one last
one shot.
shot.
I mean, college was it was fun. Like there
And
were a few
weren't you like quite the like ladies man in college?
I, girls did like me, but I
I feel
was
like you told me that even in
yeah,
high school, you were like, girls have
but
always liked me.
but I was afraid, so I kind of just I feel like I still do this actually.
You
I'm
still
just
do it.
I'm just like, yeah, high five, and then let's go. Right?
No,
I mean, it's the fear. I don't know. It takes me a while, but so yeah, I like in high school, girls would tell me that they like me. I think I tried dating one girl, and then I was like, I wasn't feeling it, and I also was I just it was about me being comfortable. I was If I'm not
you weren't
comfortable,
comfortable in your
it's hard for
skin.
me to give that. And then in college, I was trying to deny deny myself of those experiences, and also I was in denial of who I was. So at one point, I remember I'm like, imagine like me without this beard, but the same haircut, walking around like, in men's clothes. And girls like, "Hey, my friend thinks you're cute." And I'm just like, "What do you mean? I'm not gay." And like walking around, walking away, and they're so fucking confused. I'm just like, they're like, "What? Get the fuck out of here." You know?
Especially back
Yeah.
then. Especially
Yeah.
back then. That's amazing. Yeah. So you were just like, what was that aha moment where you were like, this is who I
Um,
am? Like, I'm going to
I
stop
just
because you were suppressed it for years.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was at this on this quest for truth. One of my minors in college was also like religious studies, and I kind of
I
delved into
I
that.
did
Yeah.
that. I did world religions. That was like
Yeah.
my one like real college course that I was like
Yeah.
so into.
Hmm. So I had a friend, one of my best friends was like this Christian girl, but she was the sweetest person ever, like non-judgmental. And I would go at, I think she was probably sick of me because I kind of played the devil's advocate. So with her, I would essentially ask her all the questions that a non-believer would ask so that she can like prove to me that this is real. And then with someone who was a non-believer, one of my professors actually, who was like, I'm an atheist, and I would ask him, I would be like, no, because the Bible says this and that, and I'm like listening, like, prove to me that your side is correct. And I couldn't. There's no proving to me. There was no proving or disproving. But eventually, I got to a place where I was just like, fuck all this. I just have to be myself. This is
Like,
who I
what was
am.
the question you would ask them? Because I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like I was that girl in Catholics. Grew up Catholic,
Hmm.
and I was that same girl in Catholic
Hmm.
class. Like, I would ask every question because I was like, none of this makes
Yeah,
sense
it
to
makes sense
me.
to me. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't remember anything at this point because it's kind of so far gone, and what I've learned and the research that I've done since then has been a lot. I've gone a lot deeper.
Yeah.
So I can't even remember. I just remember maybe asking like a full question to my college professor saying like, "You're an atheist. Why? And how do you know that then God doesn't exist?" Like
Yeah. Like, what's
and
your proof?
yeah, and I think he went into something about the age of the earth, and how the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible, you would presume that the world is like less than 10,000 years old, and that's not possible
No, it's billions.
based on like carbon dating and things like that.
Mm.
And then I would go in and try to find something online that negated carbon dating somehow.
This is like a
Yeah.
game you were playing with
Yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
But
just
that's
like,
what college is for. It
yeah,
really is. It's like to open up your mind and question things
mhm,
and get out of your bubble and find yourself.
yeah. So finally, I mean, after I graduated, like I had at that point, I dated a couple girls, and it was still there was still it was okay, but there was still some discomfort internally. Like I remember dating one girl who I really was into, and this was after I watched that video, and I started binding. so I learned what binding was from watching this guy document his transition. I was just like, oh, I would love that because I hate the way my shirts fill out with like my breast. I was like, I don't want to see that. And I started binding almost like full time. And I remember us going out on a like to a dance together, and I was just like, look how my shirt fits. Everything is flat, and it felt so great. And that's when I knew I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to maybe I need to do this for me eventually. After I graduated, I started working at Callan Lord in New York City. It's a community health center similar to LA LGBT Center
Mm-hmm.
in LA. And there I met other trans guys, trans women. And I was just like, yeah, I can live. I was taught or told by my family or parents that if you do this, like you're never gonna get a job, you're not gonna find love, you're just gonna be more miserable. And I was so scared. And then I saw these people working, making a living. Some of them had partners, had families,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, oh, this is nothing. Like I could do this. So I told my mom when I was 23, I was like, hey, in about a year from now, I'm gonna start my transition. Kind of went over her head. She was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like January 22nd, 2014, I had my first t-shot.
Laith was
Yeah. Yeah.
born. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I love that story. And
Yeah.
now you're super close with your family, right?
Yeah. I mean, my mom is still, she's getting a little crazy now, like with the like end of time stuff. And I'm just like, Mom, you need to get up. I think she's like on Facebook and all that. Like when you start liking certain videos, the algorithm starts feeding you more, and it's like just coming at her. And I'm just like, Mom, get off your
Hmm.
phone. You need to look at other things because you're driving yourself insane. And
That's
she's
what it is. It's the local. My mom was like that she was the local news kind of mom. And I'd be
Mhm.
like, you're waking up to put fear into your body. Like
Yeah.
even my girlfriends, like when my girlfriends send me memes about mental health before 7 a.m., I'm like, get the fuck off Instagram, Brittany. Brittany, this is why
Yeah.
your mental health isn't good because you're
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
things before like your brain's even had time to wake up.
Yeah.
That's like my new thing now is like I wake up and like no fucking social media because if not, I will be fear and anxiety driven like all day. And I
Mhm.
can't start my day off that way.
Yeah. And you have to like you have it's like get up, maybe get some sun, take your dog on a walk for a little bit, and like leave your phone alone, and then
Leave your
like because
phone.
otherwise you'll just start scrolling again and being bombarded with all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's too much.
But bringing it back to what you said about like your parents, like I think that's such a common thing, and like one parents in of like all children is that like why is it they think they could see the future? Because
Yeah.
like no one could predict the future. Like no one could tell you that like your life or your choices are going to have any effect on your love life, career, like any of that. And I feel like it was our parents' generation, a little bit of like their parents' generation of this, like being able to predict the future
Yeah.
that like none of them have control on what happens with
I
our
mean,
lives. Like even just going to college when we were kids, it's like,
yeah.
well, if you don't go to college, you're going to,
Hmm.
well, now we all went to college and we're all in debt
That's
for,
right.
so
Well, they
thanks for
didn't
that.
anticipate
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was gonna happen because I don't know.
Because
I
they
think
can't predict the
predict the
future.
future, right?
And
So like I think with parent, they just want the best for their kids.
yeah,
Usually that's what it was. I
it
think they
comes
were
from a place of
right.
love. I am
So right.
well aware of that.
So
Yeah.
I think they just wanted to protect me and also themselves because
Hmm.
there's something that's unknown and that they don't know, and also and like people's perceptions. I think for my dad for example, I think the biggest thing was, Latino man, like his name and the family name, and he's just like bring shame to my family's name. So initially he was like almost feeling like he wanted to disown me, and I kind of like I really let him have it because I was just like, excuse me, so you're not proud of me anymore because of like all
Hmm.
the things that I've accomplished, and that goes out the window because you don't like who you think that I am. And
Hmm.
he kind of sat with that for a while. And I remember there were some distant family members that used to call me hombrecito, or el hombrecito de Victor. My dad's name is Victor. So like that, my Victor's little man, and quotes, trying to basically shit on me. And I was just like, and they said that in front of him apparently, and I confronted him about it. I was just like, so when they said that about me behind my back, what did you do? So you coward. I was like, you cowered away and let them say that about your child. You
You
better.
better
I'm like,
work.
you like stand up for me. If are you proud of me? Do you love me? Right. So tell them to shut the fuck up if they're talking about me behind my back and talking about your child to your face. And he was just like, Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you know, right. So,
I love
you
it. I
know,
love that you checked your dad. He probably
yeah.
that's probably like that probably built his respect for you up till
Hmm.
was like my son. Like obviously this is
Yeah. I mean,
and
this,
like being trans is one part of you.
mhm.
Like as human, like we're
He's so
so
proud. He's very proud now.
I
Yeah.
love that. And
Yeah.
you've told me that. You've talked
Yeah.
to me about your bond with your dad, and I fucking love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Don't you guys like yeah, I feel like you guys have gotten closer
Yeah. Same
because
with
of
my
it.
my mom. I think with my mom, I think in her mind she had a daughter and she wanted to do all these things that moms do with their little girls, and if she
Mhm.
feels like maybe she didn't get the opportunity to have that. And I told her I was like, well, my brother's married and now they just actually had their first kid and in on the 3rd of January. So I'm just like,
Oh,
you can do a lot of that bonding with her. Like she's your daughter-in-law and she's very girly. She's like the girliest thing ever. I was like, look, she's
yeah.
feminine.
And
Like
that's like a
go
gift.
shopping,
They were
yeah, do the
like,
thing.
and it's so much better being the grandma. Like she's not
Yeah.
gonna hate you when she's
Right.
16. Like you want a
Yeah.
daughter until the teenage years. And
Right.
then and even adulthood, mother-daughter relationships are very complicated.
Yeah.
It is this like there's like this weird competition and
Yeah.
I think she's gonna do just great with
Yeah.
her granddaughter.
And also, well, no, it's with her daughter-in-law. It's a grand. They had a boy, so it's a grandson.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I met my brother's wife. My brother's wife.
God damn it, I heard that
No, no,
wrong.
no, no. But yeah, I mean, we're still really close. Like she calls me for everything.
Hmm.
Like we still kind of have that relationship, like mother-daughter. Like I always call
Hmm.
myself that. Even I know a lot of people are different in the way that they identify or the way that they let their family speak to them. I'm
Hmm.
very comfortable with knowing that I was I know that I was assigned female at birth. I know that I was raised a little girl. Oh my gosh. They're losing their minds.
I know we're
You hear the squeaking? Um that and that I was that to her. I was her daughter, even if I was
Hmm.
masculine, and that I was my I'm the oldest, so I'm my brother's oldest older sister. So sometimes I'm like, I'm your bro sis. Like I whatever. It is what it is. And if my mom
Hmm.
feels so, even for my mom, like we're still able to have conversations about womanhood. If I'd still experience that, if she still
Hmm.
discloses things to me, and I'll listen to her and we'll talk about things. So it's nothing's really changed but my like exterior.
I love that.
You
No, it's
know?
so true. That's what like it's like, and that is just one part of like who we are.
Yeah. I just grew I like to say I grew into myself. I just grew up. I didn't
Hmm.
change or become somebody else. I like grew up from a child to an adult, and
Yeah,
that's what it
exactly.
is.
That's like just like going
Yeah.
through puberty. That's
Right.
all it is.
Exactly.
It's all it is. Oh my God. When you in the beginning, what actually, I do want to know, like, what is one piece of advice that you would tell younger Laith, knowing what you know about life now?
Um, be kinder to yourself. I think that's ultimately is I was very even still now, like there are moments where I'm really mean to myself. Where I'm
Me
just,
too.
like tear myself apart, like, oh, you're so dumb. Oh, you can do
Hmm.
better. Like, because and it's
It's
part of that.
almost masochistic, is
Yeah.
I think the word. I
Yeah.
am very much a masochist.
Yeah.
And
Because it's I mean I know, and we know what that comes from. It comes from trauma, from feeling like you have to be
Mhm.
perfect so that you can be that like valued by
Loved.
or
No,
loved.
like,
Yes.
yeah, we used to
Uh
think that, like, yeah, the more that we like through our own personal traumas like that like we have to be these perfect people because
mhm.
then we'll be finally be seen, we'll
Yeah.
finally be accepted,
Yeah.
people won't leave us. Like my
Hmm.
trauma stems from like abandonment issues, and so that's why I think I clutch on perfectionism so that people don't leave me. Where yours is like comes
Yes.
from a sense of being perfection, like because you've been
Yeah.
feeling that way since you were a little kid.
Yeah, it's feeling like I don't want to. It's ultimately it comes from like not wanting to disappoint my parents and wanting
Mm-hmm.
to make them proud, like wanting them to look at me like, wow, this is my baby, and look what they've accomplished, And I
Mm-hmm.
think I feel like I've achieved a lot, but it's still sometimes it's that thing. I feel like
It
it
comes
feels
back
like it's not
in.
enough, or like I can do more, or I could have worked harder. Like now, what I've been thinking, I've been talking to my friends about is just like, damn, I should have listened to my dad and gone to medical school. I should have been a doctor. I'm like, or should I? I've been reaching out to my friends that I went to school with that went pre-med and are doctors
Mhm.
now. And I'm like, did you have any like anyone in your classes that were in their 30s or like 40s? They were like, yeah, there were. And you know, the time is going to pass anyway. And yes, they became doctors later in life, but they're still doctors and they're still practicing now. And
Wait,
I'm just
do
like,
it.
am I gonna do that?
Do
But
it.
then
If
I'm
that's
like,
like,
I don't
is
want to
it
be in crippling debt. Not
I
with medical.
mean, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like we're all in
But yeah.
debt. That's
But
how
yeah. You're right.
that's I get through the day sometimes being like, you know what? Like I'm not the only person in debt. Like I'm
Yeah.
not. We're all there. And like, and it's a fear I have. I'm like, I worry about millennials retirement. Like, are
Mm.
none of us are gonna be able to retire. We're all gonna be like old. Like I hope there's and like no one's having kids anymore. So like we're not even gonna have kids to take care of us. Like, what
Mhm.
are we gonna do?
I mean, have you?
We're
It's
moving
a little
into the LGBT.
scary.
We're moving into the
Yeah.
senior LGBT
LGBT
center.
center.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what's gonna have to happen. I mean, look, I think that as time changes, there needs to be like the systems need to catch up and things need to change in our society in order to accommodate for the changes that are happening with the people in that society. And I think that the problem that we're having now is that we're trying to force people that have progressed past where we were previously into a box that maybe worked for people previously, but it's not working for us. And that's the huge
Mhm.
clash that we're having, this culture clash that we're having now. And as far as like what you're like, I mean, I just read something this morning about like they're trying to privatize uh Social Security and like Medicare and all these things. I'm just like, oh, what? It's gonna make healthcare exponentially more expensive, and it's so
It's
expensive. It's
already
crazy.
insane. And I'm
It's
at
so
the
much. I'm just
bronze
like,
package. I've
right.
got the bronze basic
Do you see
package.
what I'm saying? So it's just like,
It's
come
a
on,
lot.
something needs to give. So I'm really hoping that
Laith, you're
we
becoming
figure
a
it out.
doctor. You got to
Yeah.
become a doctor.
Or like a politician, like or something. I feel like I feel
Mhm.
called to do something more greater. I think if I do not become a physician or a PA, I do want to work with people in the medical field or
Mhm.
organize people in general to like really come together and figure out how to fix the world's problems. And I think that's it's like it sounds like it's a large task and I don't even know where to start or where to begin. And my mom is just like, you're trying to do too much. But I think people are gonna come into my life and we're gonna be able to do it together for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
like that's the thing. It's like we can't do it alone. We have to do
Yeah.
it like in
Yeah.
community and find other people that are passionate about the same things you
Mhm.
are. And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
let's wrap up the interview with a couple rapid fire questions. I mean,
Okay.
just ones I want to know. So, like, what is your dating life like? Who are you dating? Who are you crushing on?
Nobody. That's the point. So I haven't dated anyone since 20. Actually, that's a lie. I tried to talk to someone in 2020, but it was during the pandemic. They ended up leaving LA because they weren't working anymore, and she moved to I think North or South Carolina or something. So
Okay.
it was like a month or 2 month long like FaceTime thing, and I was just like, oh, this isn't working for me, and that ended, and I haven't really talked to anyone since then.
Oh my God, who is this mystery woman? What's your type?
What is my type? I mean I kind of like a bitch some a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like just the in control. Like that's what someone would call them. I wouldn't call her that, but like someone who knows what she wants and like is kind of decide. I'm like, this is what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Tell me what to do.
You're like
Not always.
me. No,
No.
I like to be produced too. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Not
I
yeah. I mean, not always. And I say that because I mean, I can be a control freak myself, but I think me wanting to I do so much and my mind is always in different places, having someone that can be like, okay, that's silly. Like we're not doing that. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
you're right. It's not, let's do something else. Someone I can bounce back
What's your craziest dating story?
with.
Or like, girl, have you had stalkers before? Or like fangirls?
Fangirls. Never. I feel like
Stalkers, a bad date.
everything's been online for the most part. So I
I
just like, ugh,
don't
like
get
nothing,
out. You know,
nothing. I mean, I haven't had a lot of those experiences because I've kept myself. So I know that's the boring side. So I remember like
Mhm.
the craziest thing I think was like my sophomore year in college. The girl that I was dating, I think she was a little freaky. Gene, relax.
What do you mean by freaky?
Like she was like into like she wanted to go out like she wanted to do things in the car and whatnot and I was just she like I remember she had a car at the time. I didn't. We drove into town and mind you,
Mhm.
this is like Fairfield, Connecticut. This is like a very wealthy. She pulled up by someone's house like, and was just like, oh, let's like do something here. And we started to, and I was just like, I don't know if I can. Like they're gonna turn on the lights in their like to their garage, like see us
Yeah,
back
see,
here. I'm like,
you're
no,
one
no,
of
no,
those.
no,
You're one of those
no.
guys that overthink. I would always find the guy that would
Yeah,
like I was like her. Like we'd be somewhere, and I'd be
yeah.
like, I want to like, let's hook up
Dude,
right here.
right
And
here. I'm like,
people
no.
are gonna see us, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I was like, no,
where?
let's go back to the campus. Like, well, we don't need to do this here. Yeah, I was always like afraid of getting in trouble. So I really kind of stayed out of trouble for the most part. Yeah. I really, I'm like trying to think of maybe if we have a follow-up interview, I'm like, I have to think about it. Has there been
Yeah, think
not
about
many,
like a
nothing
crazy
wild.
dating. No, I didn't think you were gonna give me
No,
one. I'm like,
I
Laith
don't,
is
and it's
like
not because I wouldn't get, I would if I had one. I'm just like, I can probably count on one hand how many people I've dated.
maybe me and you. We have to push each other to date this year.
Yeah.
Each other. No, just kidding.
No, I mean,
I mean,
maybe.
I was always scared of Aris to try anything
Oh,
with you.
really? Reese is like,
And then
she's
she's
far
like,
gone.
girl,
We're like,
we haven't dated in 10 years.
yeah, she's like my sister now. And
Yeah,
it
I
kind of
know.
went from that. And I think I just honestly, sometimes I think about that relationship. It was just like, it was one of those things. I was still coming. When we started dating, I was only like a year and a half, 2 years into my transition. So I was still trying to figure myself out. She was trying
Mhm.
to figure herself out in the industry. We met on a show. We were spending so much time
You
together.
grew up together for
Yeah,
sure.
essentially that's what it was. And then afterwards, it was just like, this wasn't gonna work out. You're like
No,
literally,
no.
we're literally, it's like brother or sister. Like when we think
Hmm.
about like our relationship now, it's just like, ew.
No, I
Like,
know.
why would we
And
do
I
that?
love your friendship. It's like
Yeah,
such a healthy, beautiful
yeah.
friendship. I love it.
Oh, we still fight all the time. We're like, get the fuck out of my, but now it's like, and we're neighbors. So I'm like, get the fuck out of my house. Go to your room. We say that to each other.
I love it. No, I love it. I love your relationship. At the beginning of the podcast, you were like,
Yeah,
I've been waiting for like my Calvin Klein break.
yeah.
I think I discovered you on Instagram because of that one picture. Weren't you wearing
Mhm.
Calvin Klein underwear?
Yeah. So actually that photo shoot, the photographer that took that, his name is Nelson Castillo. What's up, Nelson?
Shout out,
He
Nels.
shout out Nelson. Yeah, he reached out to me on Instagram and he was just like, I really like your look. I want to photograph you. I thought this has never happened to me before. And I thought I was like, am I gonna do this? It sounds creepy. This random man just reached out to me. I don't know who this guy is. And then in
Hmm.
my mind, I was like, worst thing, what's the worst that can happen? He tries to fight me or tries to do something. I can take him. It's fine. But I
Hmm.
was like, I was really confident in my ability to like really fuck some shit up. So so I was just like, I agreed, and I show up to his house. This guy's 6'5". And I was like,
Hot.
oh shit. But he
You're
was
like,
like,
he's gonna kick my
he's like,
ass.
but he was like a gentle giant, really sweet. He was like, hey, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. We did initially it was just portraits. So he set up his studio space with his backdrop. He put like a stool in front of the gray back. It was gonna be just something really simple. And after he took those photos, I was like, I bought these, and it was the pair of those Calvin Klein underwear, and I was like, do you want to photograph me in that? And those ended up being the ones that went viral. I remember he like, edited a couple that night, sent them to me. I posted them on my Instagram, and they went viral the next day. So it's like funny enough. I'm like, come on, those were, come on, Calvin. If not Calvin, I'm like, Donatella, let me be your muse, please.
Right?
Versace.
Versace. I
I
mean,
will, I will,
yeah, I mean, Versace's been stepping out and like featuring more like LGBT people in their campaigns. So maybe there's
yeah.
something there. But Calvin Klein, I know you're not listening to this podcast, but get it together and
Right.
sign
Right.
Laith Ashley already.
Right. Put me on one of those billboards somewhere.
Oh
But
my God. I think it's
I
gonna happen. I think we're manifesting it. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm blaming, I still think that the Taylor music video was like a huge career point for you. Like,
Oh
even
yeah.
if it didn't, what was because everyone like will want me, like the girlies listening will want to
Yeah.
know. Like, what was that experience like getting to be Taylor Swift's love interest?
It was almost, it felt like surreal. Like it felt like it wasn't really happening. And I wasn't trying to be like fangirly or anything like that. I was just like, okay, that's Taylor right there.
Hmm.
This is a job we're gonna work. And she was really sweet, very professional. I love that she let me like she let everyone around actually look at the monitors after each take and like say, this is what you see, what you look like, and then
Mhm.
kind of instruct you on what it was that what her vision was and what she wanted you to do. So it was great. It was really, really nice working with her. Um,
What's the
yeah,
proudest
hopefully
moment? What's the proudest moment of your career thus far?
proudest. There's so many things that have happened. I think at every stage there's something like really, really cool. At first it was being able to get on TV for the first time. Um,
With Strut.
with Strut. And even and before that, it was I was part of a modeling agency called Trans Models. It was like really new in New York, and I remember they were really trying to push their trans talent, and we made the news. So that was like the first time on TV, and I think I was one of the featured models, and that was really, really cool. Um, and then the Diesel campaign that was shot by David LaChapelle in
That's
20
right. I
2016.
forgot you did that. That
Yeah,
was huge.
with Raja was in that too.
I think
Um,
I submitted talent to them for
yeah,
that. I forget, like in the beginning, my early
yeah,
years, like everyone would hit me up, like if they wanted like trans or gay people, and I would always
Mhm.
submit names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So I remember,
remember that Diesel thing.
yeah, so that was pretty incredible. Like I remember like just the setup. It was in the middle of the desert. I was just like, this is so freaking cool. The clothes, like I was like, can we keep these Diesel jeans? I was like, they're so cool. They built this huge wall. Because I think the campaign was make love not walls, and we
Yes.
were fucking jumping off the walls onto like it was amazing. It was we were in the
Oh
dirt
my
and like getting
God.
they had oil slicked us, and it
Hmm.
was amazing. And then after that I did British GQ. There were a few other campaigns after that. Abercrombie and Fitch, I was one of the first trans models to be on Abercrombie and Fitch, which was really fun as well. Uh,
Laith, you've made it.
there's so
Laith,
many
you've
things.
made it. You've made it.
Yeah.
No, but you want more. I get it.
Yeah.
You've also broken into music. Is that something you're
Mhm.
still doing?
I haven't done anything new since before the pandemic, to be honest. And I've been trying to, but it's just the music industry is really, really difficult.
Mhm.
I think for me, so what I've noticed with trans artists right now, like whether no matter what field you're in, is that there's this I think it's almost feels like they're looking for people that are visibly trans. And because I'm normally cis assumed, I think
Mhm.
it was something that was maybe sensationalized in the beginning of my career, and now is because I remember distinctly like, oh my God, finally some trans representation. And just as soon as that as I got that, it went away because then it went to like, oh, not all trans people look like that. That's not real trans
I
representation.
forgot
Yeah.
that. Like there has been, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like not everyone
So
could look as good as
look
Laith
that
Ashley.
I don't know if I want to use that language. I'll get canceled. No, but it was essentially kind of it was a little bit of that. And I think people started to, because they felt like maybe I had attained something, or like because I'm not visibly trans, or because in their minds I'm like so
Mhm.
passing that my struggle as a trans person was over. And I'm just like, no, I'm still a trans person. I'm still a person of color. I'm still existing in the world and having to take up space in that way.
Mhm.
Go to the doctor. I have to tell them like I'm getting care for my
Yeah, like
this
just
is
because
my
I'm
trans body.
passing,
Yeah.
like, oh, that must,
So
that's
yeah,
hard on your self-worth
yeah, yeah,
fucking too.
yeah. I mean, there's I think that because I mean we're probably gonna need to do a follow-up to this because I
Yeah.
could talk about this for hours. I think that there's also been uh this uh this thing it's very it's part of the issue with patriarchy. It becomes a problem for everyone. And since people started to call out toxic masculinity, for example, there's been, I feel like, a subgroup of people that have been just tossing like trying to toss masculinity in general off to the side as all toxic, which isn't true. Like femininity and masculinity work hand in hand. Some people can both and everything in between, and it can be beautiful. Is toxic masculinity terrible? Yes, but not all of masculinity is that. And I think that because people are bunching up all of men and masculinity into toxic masculinity, they're tossing away men. And I think a lot of cis men are feeling the brunt of that. And then trans men that look like me also feel discarded. So it feels like
Mhm.
your feelings are no longer doesn't matter. So that it's part of it's just like, oh, you're a man, man up. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. And then also discard you off to the side, like just deal with it on your own. So there's that feeling as well. And I
Mm.
think so. I mean, Yeah.
Which it's like it's always no, and I think the same went towards like with the patriarchy with feminine men being
Hmm.
like that
Hmm.
stemmed from like a hatred towards women. Like, oh, if
Right.
something's feminine, it must be,
Hmm. It's
must be beneath us,
beneath. Yes. Yeah.
less
Exactly.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking specifically within the queer community, though. Like there,
Oh,
and more
yeah. I
specifically,
mean,
among the
yeah, you're
trans
right.
community.
Like the muscle gaze.
Yeah. So and then even if you go into specifically within the trans community, I feel like uh binary presenting trans men have been discarded. And I yeah, I think that there's some trans guys that I feel like have not gotten, like, they've done the work. They're
Mhm.
super, super talented. They're like, one in particular is Brian Michael Smith. He's a trained actor. He went to school for this, finally books a huge role. First trans man to book a starring like series regular role
Mhm.
on a network television show, 911 Lone Star on Fox. And no, probably a lot of people don't know who he is. And I was like, why is that? Because he should be, that everyone should be talking about. No one's talking about, like, this is the first, and he's right now the only, and has been for the last 5 years,
Why do you think that is?
because he's a trans man, a
Yeah.
black trans man at that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not, he's cis assumed, he's not visibly trans. um and I think that that might be, like, there's more attention that goes towards people that are more visibly trans, and that, this is not to pin people against each other. So this is
No,
me being, that's why I
completely.
like to be very, very careful with that, because people, because I look the way I look, I've gotten canceled a couple times for saying things that people maybe took the wrong
Mhm.
way. But there is, I
Yeah,
think
please
that,
don't take any of our
yeah,
opinions here. This is
yeah,
two friends
yeah,
catching up and
and
talking
it's,
about your truth. I mean, it's your
yeah.
truth. It's how you feel.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think it's also the industry. I think the industry wants to capitalize off of, like, there's that clickbait, like, oh, look at this person, especially if they're visibly trans. It's
Hmm.
something to sensationalize and talk about and make this huge thing about, when, like, no, this person is who they are and they're existing. Um, yes, it's a big deal if it's a first within a certain part of the industry, but
Hmm.
yeah, this also makes space for everyone's truth. And I think that we have been moving towards that, but there's, I feel like that oftentimes the trans, more binary presenting trans men are tossed aside. There's a few others that I can think of that don't we don't really get any don't get no love.
What can we do to change that?
I just think that kind of like I use Issa Rae as an example. Like, a lot of black television is being dropped by a lot of the big streaming networks, or the big streaming companies. And she's like, okay, if these if they don't want to produce my shows, I'm gonna create my own. And now she has her own studios.
Hmm.
She's getting back to open up her own studios and create her own stories, and she
Hmm.
fund her own work. We have to come together and hopefully be able to be able to do the same thing and tell our own stories. Because yes, the stories that talk about our hardship and our struggles are important, but that's not all that we are. I want to talk about, like, and celebrate our all the good parts of our stories. I think that one of the
Hmm.
biggest flaws that I've seen especially with trans people of, of all backgrounds in media, is that it's always like the
The
all the
sad
negative, the
story.
sad stories.
Like,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
a reset on her
Yeah.
episode. She was like, I didn't even know I could fall in love or have a relationship because I had
Yeah.
nothing to base it off
Based it
of.
off of. Yeah.
And so
So
I
there's,
think it is important to like, yeah,
yeah.
like do your own thing and start your own lane
Or
instead
tell
of,
and
mhm,
tell full stories. Because also what I've noticed too, like, whenever there's a trans character, the trans character is always alone. And I'm just like, what's the first thing that queer people do when they go to a new place, is find community. So, and that's not only is that making the character on the show feel isolated. uh, I'm just like, that's not, it's not real, because that person would have other queer trans friends as well that
mhm,
they would build community with. And as far as jobs, that would also give other queer and trans people jobs on that same particular show, if that character that they had friends that were also queer, even if for a scene, to show, like, their background, and, like, see, like, what they do outside of whatever the show is about, outside of their workspace. So there is definitely space for telling a more vivid, more full story that encompasses the person's entire life.
Mhm.
That's another thing. I've know a lot of the TV right now. It's either they're redoing things that they've done in the past, or if it's something new, the writing is, I feel like, so subpar.
So like and
There's
like even like the gay shows, it's like they just had Chat GBT write everything.
right.
Where like if I have to hear T or slay, like they've ruined the
They're right.
words.
They're also, yeah, there's not that's not I'm like, no one talks like that. Like,
No
come
one
on.
talks like that. No one
What
talks
are y'all
like
what are
that.
you
It
saying?
used to be the drag queen in the
Mhm.
back of the club that you would hear say the words, and now it's like everyone saying these
Everyone.
words, and
I'm
I
like, if you say it, at least like use it right.
use it right. House down boots.
Right. No, no. That's exactly what it sounds like too.
It does. It's like Valley Girls being like, "What's the tea?
Yeah, like
Spill the tea." Like, oh.
yeah, no.
What's next for you? What are your like aspirations for this year? Give me a
Uh,
sneak peek on what's coming up.
well, I mean, I'm up for something pretty I don't know if I can talk about it. I had to sign an NDA.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, just give me like tease me with it.
it's giving Vegas showgirl.
Okay. Vegas showgirl
Yeah,
gig. Is it
like
TV, entertainment, music?
it's
What is it?
literally I'm think like showgirls. Like, think Elizabeth Berkley and showgirls.
I'm
That
all
might,
here.
something like that might end up. Yeah. Yes. So that might be happening. So we'll see. We've only had one meeting about that. I think the
Mhm.
next step would probably be to have a little table read for the show and see what the
Mhm.
chemistry is like with all the characters and see what happens.
I see that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a casting director, so like I kind of
Yeah.
know, but no, I mean, I've
Yeah.
always seen you like on the big screen.
Mhm.
I think like you're too
I'm
pretty.
looking
Come
forward.
on.
I mean,
It's happening. Just
let's
keep
make it happen. Let's put it out there.
honestly, all you have to do is keep putting yourself out there. And I know that like you're just gonna keep climbing that ladder, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we all have to do. I
We
love that
all
you've done this as
do.
well. I mean, like I
And
said,
I'm like you. I have to
yeah.
pull myself out of holes. Like I
Mhm.
talk so like when I'm doing this podcast, everyone's getting like the best version of me. Like, but they
Yeah.
don't see like the girl that on some like weekends I will just close the blinds and throw on Love Island for 48 hours. And like
Yeah.
that's all I'll do. And like I want to disassociate and be in my little depression thing. But then we climb ourselves out of it and we keep
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. We're not all one thing. We're all a lot of different things at
Mm-hmm.
once, and a culmination of experiences and just all the things. So
It's
like,
so
we have to keep
true.
doing it. Keep
I've
pushing.
learned that is like we're none of us are one thing. Like life isn't so black and white.
Mhm. And also, I always say too, as long as we're like breathing and living on this earth, like you have time to grow, to learn, and that's the most important thing. Like, I try to do something or learn something new every day, and I'm trying to really get myself out of my comfort zone. I think one thing that I wanted to do while my body is still capable of it, I've wanted to do it my entire life, and I've been putting it off for years, even since I moved to LA, and I've made a commitment. I'm right now, as I'm dealing with like a knee injury. So once this is like fully healed, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe at least 90%, I'm going to jam. Like, it's uh kind of a tricking gym, like mixed martial arts slash like acrobatics gym. I want to go there and I want to learn how to like start doing some back handsprings and backflips and things like that, and just be
Fuck yeah.
outside and just like whoop this
Ah.
backflip.
I literally that's always okay. I remember being a little girl being like, people that backflip are like I would just be doing it all the time. Like at
Yeah.
every party, I'd be like,
Yeah. Like,
hold on,
hold on.
guys. Like
Yeah.
I was
Just
always
backflip
friends
off a
with the
table.
I was always friends with the cheerleaders and I would
Yeah.
make them do it. I'm like, bitch, if I could do that, I would be doing that down the beach every
Mhm.
day. I love it. So,
Absolutely.
Laith, goal in your planner, do a back handspring by the end of the
I'm
year.
like,
You're gonna do it. Write it down. Write it
let me write
down.
it down. Get this down. No.
It was so fun catching up with you.
It was great catching up with you too. It was. I
I'm
mean,
gonna go.
I
I'm
would like to do it
gonna.
again.
Yes, we're doing it again. I love it. Like, because we could keep going. We've been
Mhm.
going. I love it. I'm gonna go get ready for our date.
Okay. I'm ready then. I'm like,
Are
let's
you
go.
ready? This was so much fun. Thank you for joining me. And yes, I'm having you on again.
Absolutely. Have a great
All
rest
right,
of your
I
day.
love you.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye. I love you.
Shut up, Chanel. Shut up, Chanel. Chanel. Shut up.